So as expected, we now have a new Labour government. And this is going to mean you're going to need to protect your wealth. Now, I did a video a few months back on what a new Labour government might mean for your retirement savings. But now we've had a chance to review the manifesto and see what's been said to reporters on the campaign trail. So in this video, I'm going to go through some of these rumours and what could possibly be coming down the track. I'll also share what steps you need to take to get yourself ready to protect your wealth. My name's Carl. I'm a practicing financial advisor and investment manager. Welcome to the channel. In these videos, I'm not trying to provide advice, but instead guidance and useful tips and help for you to be able to manage your own wealth so you can grow wealth and protect it and enjoy it with your family. We cover topics such as retirement planning, pensions, investments, and tax saving. Now, first of all, we need to talk about the state of the UK finances. The Institute for Fiscal Studies reported recently that the UK has the highest debt burden for over 60 years, with a huge amount of government spending going on paying the interest on that debt and welfare bills. Yet public services are still seen as struggling, so the IFS indicate that tax rises are inevitable. That is, of course, unless we plan to shrink the state and cut public services. But this doesn't really seem likely, as the trend seems to be a bigger and bigger state. There seems to be an expectation that the government needs to do more and get involved in more, so it looks like a bigger state is here to stay. Now, this video isn't necessarily a dig at Labour. I could have filmed and talked about a very similar video if the Conservatives had remained in power, as they've presided over the highest tax burden for over 70 years. But now Labour in power, we have to focus on them. Already, even if you look at Labour's First Steps for Change documentation, it's inevitable there's going to be tax rises somewhere, as they're promising more doctors, a new border force, police and teachers. So what taxes might Labour go for now they are in power? Well, Labour have said they will not increase the main big three. They will not increase income tax, national insurance or VAT. Now, first of all, we can't believe any promise any government makes. It's stupid to make them. Even if they have all the best intentions in the world of keeping their promises, circumstances change. Who knows what's about to happen next in the world? Few would have predicted a global pandemic a few years ago. When circumstances change, plans need to adapt and change with it. So don't rely on income tax, national insurance and VAT not increasing. Also, get ready for a comment along the lines of, now we're in power, now we can see the books, they're worse than we feared. It's actually pretty likely you're going to be paying more income tax anyway, by virtue of the fact that income tax thresholds have been frozen and will remain frozen for the foreseeable future. This means that as you're paid more, you earn more interest and dividends, that income is going to fall into higher and higher rate tax bands, which means you're going to ultimately be taxed more. So where else might Labour get creative with the tax system? Wealth taxes is something Labour is likely to favour, and capital gains tax could be an easy target for them. This might see them bringing capital gains tax rates in line with income tax rates. Currently, a tax rate of 10% is applied to gains over the capital gains tax allowance falling in your remaining basic rate band, and 20% for gains that fall into the higher rate band and above. These rates change to 18% and 24% if the gain is from a residential property investment. Moving to income tax rates could mean 20%, 40% and even 45% tax rates on gains. Shockingly, there's even been talk of Labour applying a capital gains tax charge when you sell your main home. Now, currently, there isn't a capital gains tax charge on the sale of your main home because it qualifies for something called private residence relief. Now, I don't think Labour would be that stupid to get rid of this relief, as it would just freeze the housing market and cause a massive backlash. Because remember, we are a nation of home lovers. If there are to be new capital gains tax rates, then these will probably also apply to business owners when they're selling their business. Another wealth tax that could be tampered with is inheritance tax. And this could have a big impact on business owners, particularly if Labour remove business relief. Now, currently, business relief allows business owners to avoid inheritance tax on the value of their business on death under certain conditions. And this has led to popular products where even if you're not a business owner, but you're still trying to avoid inheritance tax, you can invest into business relief qualifying shares and avoid inheritance tax yourself, as long as you're holding these shares for over 2 years. Now, any tampering in this area could see large falls in the value of these UK small businesses that qualify for business relief. So if you're holding these types of shares, you can see a large drop in the value of your investment. Now, a big area where Labour may find they could grab a huge amount of tax is pensions. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer has already been caught out on radio saying that the pension tax-free lump sum, the 25% lump sum, is due to expire in a couple of years. Now, he has since said he made a mistake and he was thinking of something else. Whether this is true or not, time will tell. Again, if this was to be the case, this would probably cause huge issues in the financial markets, as there would be a big sell-off from people's pensions as they try to get the tax-free lump sum out before any deadline. They may decide to tinker with the income tax relief on pension contributions. Currently, pension contributions are a great way to save income tax, as you get relief at your highest marginal rate. Labour may reduce this income tax relief to just basic rate tax relief only, or they could even keep it simple and just reduce the annual allowance again. As well as personal pension contributions, Labour may decide to limit the relief given to employer pension contributions by applying national insurance contributions to them. Currently, it's very beneficial for you to save into your pension via your employer through salary sacrifice, because this means you and your employer don't need to pay national insurance contributions on the amount that goes into the pension, and many employers pass this extra saving back onto you by an additional pension contribution on top, so this all could be stopped. We also know that Labour have said in the past that they plan to bring back the pension lifetime allowance, the limit that people can hold in pensions before facing a further tax charge. Although they have since said they've scrapped this idea, we know it has been in their thoughts. So what steps should you be taking to protect your wealth? Well, the first thing I would say is that in terms of the stock market, I don't think a Labour government will have much impact on the stock market over the longer term. History tells us that whatever political party is in power, they rarely have any great impact on the prices of the great companies of the world. Over the long term, these great businesses continue to advance regardless. That said, some of the changes we've already discussed in this video may be very market sensitive. So a Labour government might try and bring them in midnight on the day of the announcement so that there isn't a sudden rush of people trying to get around the new rules. So just be wary of this. It's generally always a good idea to have a globally diversified investment portfolio anyway, so you're not overly exposed to any particular country or particular government. I would be very wary of holding too much in smaller AIM-listed UK shares that qualify for business relief due to the reasons we've already discussed. If you're very concerned about inheritance tax, and part of the reason you hold these types of companies is to avoid inheritance tax, then you might need to diversify further. You might need to look at other inheritance tax saving options, such as spending more, gifting earlier, and using whole of life insurance. As for property and investments you were planning to sell anyway, you might want to do this sooner rather than later to avoid any potential increases in capital gains tax. On the pensions front, until we hear otherwise, it still makes sense to try and get as much money into pensions as you can, particularly if you're a higher rate taxpayer, as that higher rate tax relief is very valuable. It's never a bad thing to get contributions in earlier rather than later, as it just means that you've got more time for your money to be in the stock market and potentially longer to get better returns. Now, I wouldn't advocate taking the 25% tax-free lump sum out just yet, because as soon as you take it, you're going to lock that 25% value in forever. And it means you're not going to benefit from any future growth, and which could mean 25% of a larger lump sum in the future. And if you don't need the money, you're just going to take it out, have to park it somewhere, and then likely pay tax on it anyway going forward, either through tax on the interest it earns or even inheritance tax if you were to die. If you are really concerned about the 25% tax lump sum, then potentially consider phasing the money out over a shorter period, but only if you need access to the money and you need the money. You're not going to park it somewhere in a bank account. The key thing is to get organised, get all your pensions together. If you've got multiple pensions, some of them might not even allow you to do drawdown and take your 25% lump sum. You need to look at consolidating your pensions into one place that offers that flexi access drawdown, so you're in a position to move quickly if needed. Of course, at this stage, nothing is certain. We're just talking rumours. And you'd like to think that we would be given some sort of deadline before any new announcements were put into action. But we can't be certain of that. Now, I'm not one for recommending making big, long-term impacting decisions before we know the true facts. You could damage your wealth even more by just acting on rumours. What I would say though is you need to remain vigilant and flexible. Don't have all your eggs in one basket. Now, if you're in a couple, you really need to work together as a team and make sure you're utilising both of all your tax allowances available. If you're married or in a civil partnership, there is no capital gains tax when you're moving assets between you. Definitely make sure you're making use of both ISA and pension allowances and try to do these as early as possible so you don't end up losing these allowances. Going even more extreme, if you're someone that likes travelling or living outside the UK for periods of the time, you might want to look at different residency options or registering your business elsewhere. It's much easier to live a more international life nowadays, and the Nomad Capitalist has some excellent resources on doing this. After 14 years of a Conservative government, one thing is certain: expect change. If you want to keep up to date with everything and make sure you don't miss any new changes coming down the tracks, make sure you sign up to my monthly Money Matters email newsletter and also subscribe to the YouTube channel, as I'll announce any changes as soon as they come about and what you should be doing about it. I hope you found this video useful. If you found some value out of it, please do give it a like, add a comment, ask any questions you want. I'll try and reply to as many as possible. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, take care.